All right, we are back again. I'm super excited to do this on the agenda. It's an ambitious one. We are going to be talking about Amazon, the latest changes. I know this is a hot topic for many of you. I want to talk about the overall reception, what the latest buzz is. We're going to hit on that. Then we're going to talk about where are consumers buying sports nutrition products. And we have a big announcement, so you don't want to miss that. That's coming up. After that one, we're moving over to the trouble with backing up claims. So if you want to make a structure function claims, this helps improve memory, for example, this product helps build strong bones, or performance claims. We're going to talk about why it's so difficult to back those up. And we're going to look at a lawsuit with Quincy Biosciences. And then we're going to switch over to why it's going to be harder to sell sports supplements in New York. We're going to talk more about that. And then lastly, like I said, this is an ambitious agenda, the fate of NMN. What does this mean for the industry? So now, I'm not doing this alone, because today I've got my good friend, Bobby Hewitt. Welcome, Bobby. Good to see you. It's been a while.
Hey, Brian. Thanks for having me on.
What's new? What's going on? What's keeping you busy?
Client work as usual, which is good.
Very good. Oh, that's great. Well, I'm glad you're here. We got lots to talk about today. And I don't know, man. We'll see how this goes. This Amazon thing's been a big thing. I don't know if you've been feeling stuff. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. You heard the stuff on the agenda today. And by the way, I see your fancy mic, Bobby. I ended up investing in a fancy mic as well. I got rid of my Yeti, my Blue Yeti, and now I have like a Shure mic, which is one of the fancier ones. So we'll see how this all works out. Nice. But I'm trying to level up my game because of you. So yeah.
You sound spectacular.
Very good. Now, you know what? I realized that this format is kind of like a podcasting format. And the last time we did this, we were saying, what name should we give this? Right? And so we had some people reach out, and actually someone gave us an idea for a name even as recent as of last night. It came through my LinkedIn last night. And let me just pull this up here, but we can look at some of the names that came back. And I think when we initially did it, we were saying, whoever wins this contest, we'll give them something, or I'll give them something. No pressure on you, Bobby. But let me just take a look here and show. So this is the last podcast video we did together. And in the comments, someone said, we can call it Supplements Roundtable. Let's see what else we've got here. Let me know if I missed anything. What's up? Right? That was kind of clever. What's new in
play on supplements?
Yeah. Yep. What's new in supplements? Supplement secrets, or the supplement scoop. So there's been several, and there were some that came through my email, and like I said, the LinkedIn one, and I think it was another play on this whole "what's up" pun. Now, I think I've got the winner. You tell me what your thoughts are on this. I really like the supplement scoop, and my wife does too. So if it were my vote, I'm going with that. What do you think?
I was leaning towards that one too.
So this particular person, what is it here? I can barely read it on my screen. I'm probably butchering your name. Is it Dejane Ray? Well, it looks like you will be getting something from us. Well, if you are seeing this video, please reach out. I'll obviously reply to you and hook you up with with access to the SET program. And hopefully you will find that useful, assuming you're still venturing on your supplement startup journey. So thank you so much for that. We're calling it the Supplement Scoop. So this is episode 2 of the Supplement Scoop.
Congratulations to the winner.
Awesome. All right, let's go on to topic number 1. So this one is about Amazon. Let me just adjust this here. And, with Amazon, I don't know if you've been hearing a lot of buzz on your end, Bobby, but they've changed the game up a little bit. They're not just asking for documents now, like your GMP certification from a manufacturer or a certificate of analysis. They actually want you to do testing. So you have to send it to a lab. All the test results have to come from the lab directly. All the GMP certifications have to come from the manufacturer directly. I think there's been people that tried to doctor certificates. And we've seen that with some of our clients that we worked with. They've been trying to find manufacturers in China, and then they just go online, find a certificate, give it to the clients. Here you go. But when we dig into it, that's when we find out like they're obviously not affiliated whatsoever. They're just giving them a certificate thinking that that's going to do the trick. So Amazon's obviously caught on. They require testing, and there's been a lot of questions on this. And the latest buzz that we're seeing in our group is we just want to understand what's the logistics of it all. How do we get samples to the lab? The turnaround times is a big deal. I know Amazon's giving clients, up till August to produce the results, but the labs take a really long time themselves. And then the other thing that clients are finding is someone's gonna be looking at our label, and our labels are crap in the sense that we didn't really do compliance on it. It's an old label, or the label was pushing the boundaries. Maybe the way they declared the ingredients was kind of bordered on the end of stretching the truth, if you will. Sometimes they had some really egregious claims, so they have to clean that up first, produce inventory, then send it to the lab, and that just it takes time. So anyway, there's been some things that everyone's trying to figure out, and I don't know, curious to your thoughts. I haven't talked to you really about this whole Amazon thing, but I'm curious to see if you've heard anything or seen anything or any sort of impact to you and your clients.
Amazon is always an impact, right? Because it's I like to think of it as that gravy, right? Those extra sales, people that are just want to reduce all the friction, right? They just want prime shipping, and they want it fast, and they trust Amazon. It's just an easy click. Amazon has always been pushing out the supplement brands. I think this is just a further push on Amazon's part to kind of, rightfully so. I see where Amazon is coming from, but it seems like they want to really clean up the supplement market on their marketplace.
Yeah, they certainly do, and I think it is. I think it's going to push some of these supplements off their platform. But I also know that there's a lot of brands out there that are trying to make it right. They are going to do the testing and invest the money into it. And then now there are some startups that are really trying to understand how to do this right from the get-go. Like, how do we find the right manufacturers, et cetera. So we'll see how this goes. But, when I'm looking at these comments, it's interesting to see some of these questions we're getting. And you can see this here. Like, do these include animal supplements? No, it doesn't. That's not part of it at this time. Let's see what else we've got here. Is there a way to proactively upload these documents to prevent disruptions to your listings? Not really. Like I said, Amazon wants to hear from the labs themselves. Even if you have test results, they don't want it to get it from you. They know you can doctor it. They want to get it directly from a lab, and a certain type of lab as well.
They're just cleaning up, town. They're gonna brands are gonna have low sales because I don't know if this is true, but I imagine they're gonna take them off the site if they don't have, the test results in a certain amount of time, and then they'll have to just jump through hoops to get the product listed again or get it active again. That could always be a problem with Amazon as well, because you don't really talk to someone specific.
Yeah, that's to that last point, working with Amazon, and we've seen this before. It's really difficult, like, to work with someone at Amazon that understands this. I've got several clients now where just through the algorithm, it's removed their listing. Like, there's just a keyword that Amazon is targeting, and if it's got it in there or they think it's in there, they'll remove your listing, and they don't really give you a reason why. And in many cases, these labels are completely compliant. The copy is compliant, but because that keyword is tagged by Amazon or however the algorithm is doing it, it's just delisted. And when you try to talk to someone, they'll cite a regulation that's very broad. That just says your claims can't be drug claims or misleading, and that's it. That's all they tell you. They don't give you much more information, and then they themselves can't even explain what's going on or why it was removed. And it's just very frustrating, especially when you see the label, all the claims have been removed or anything that we suspect might be an issue has been removed. And I think just from a selling or marketing standpoint, that's pretty much, it's hurt too, right? Like you can't
Yeah.
say anything about it because you don't know what is the actual reason for the delisting. And so brands just end up removing everything just to get back in, just so that they can get the existing sales. It's a bit much. So I don't know. I think people are going to be moving off platform, maybe do D2C, maybe do, Facebook ads or all that fun stuff. Your world, essentially, even more so than the Amazon piece.
Yeah, certainly the smaller players, the mid-sized players, the big players, I could still see putting up with it, jumping through the hoops. Right, there may be some down periods, or I don't know if it'll ever become so problematic where the big players will be like, it's just not worth it. Yeah, because it is an easy scoop up of sales. Whenever my clients do a promotion, whether it's an email promotion or a paid traffic promotion, there's always an uptick in Amazon sales. So there's a spillover effect, of course.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm curious, but if I really wanted to put my compliance hat on, I know people hearing this like, Brian, be quiet. Amazon could do more, and I feel like that's what it's. This is the
True.
beginning. I feel like this is the beginning. There are going to be people. I suspect there's going to be brands out there that are trying to figure out how to circumvent these requirements, and there are ways. And I'm not going to say what they are, but I feel like Amazon will catch on to that. So they'll probably tighten up, maybe add more testing. That's what I foresee. Not necessarily anytime soon. They're obviously going to roll this out and just see how this works. But I think in time, they'll increase the testing requirements. And I think they're going to go after claims after that. That's my gut feeling. But again, that's not in the short term
Yeah, I
anyway.
don't think this is the last we'll see of it. It seems like Amazon is kind of searching in the dark too, right? It seems like they don't exactly know how to deal with it, and this is like, okay, this is an easy way for them to deal with it, right? Because they also don't want to put in that much effort into this, right? They want to make it easy on their end because they don't want their costs to go up for management. So I think you're right. I think this is kind of Amazon's way of figuring out what they can do quickly and effectively, but there's probably more to come. I do see a state at some point in the future where it just doesn't make sense to sell on Amazon anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. Very cool. Well, speaking of selling not on Amazon, let's move on to this next topic. And this one is, if we can scroll down here just so everyone can see the screen, where consumers typically purchase sports nutrition products. And I found this through my LinkedIn feed. And I believe this was shared through NBJ. And I don't know, I thought it was quite interesting. The mass market, that's where we're seeing the sales. Target, Walmart. What's your Amazon's obviously close second. What's your take on this? Love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the traffic, right? So the platforms that are already getting the traffic, it's much easier to get in front of those people and get sales, scoop up sales from there, right? But it's also highly competitive in those markets as well. I've always been of the belief that it's better to own the customer, and you don't own the customer with Amazon or other platforms, right? Walmart, etc. And you can't really build a supplement business these days without that back end, without really owning that customer. So that to me drives everything back to the product detail page and direct to consumer on your own site. Of course, there are challenges that come with that as well, right? Because now you've got to drive the traffic yourself, and you don't have that easy traffic that's already out there that you could scoop up. But you also don't have to go through hoops like we just talked about on Amazon,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, no kidding. And so that focus on, I guess, selling on your brand website. I mean, it's number one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. It's number 8 on this list. I think there's a lot of room to grow, especially if you can really unlock everything. And like you said, you don't rely on these other platforms as much. I've seen the scenario where some brands, they made it into mass market, the Amazon, or they made it through Target or Walmart right away. But what happened was, And as a result, their top line sales looked really, really good. But after that, there comes a point where they haven't figured out how to sell to the consumer. So what happens is the product is actually in the stores. Therefore, your sales were good, but it's not moving in the stores. And then the retailer's like, well, your product's not doing that well. We probably don't want to keep you here. And then they struggle with selling after that. They struggle selling during, and then when they're kicked out, they can't sell. And which goes to your point, this whole idea of, how do we sell at the brand level, at your own website level, understanding that you're controlling your traffic, owning that traffic, and talking to those consumers. It's so important. And once you understand that, then you can sell, and then all the other channels makes more sense versus aiming for those larger channels. And I don't know, I think that's a huge unlock there. And to that point, we've got a big announcement today, don't we, Bob? Because I think you've been working hard at something, and maybe we can reveal this big announcement for the group. Did you want to do the honors?
Yeah, absolutely. So it kind of goes back to selling on your own brand. And what I've done is I've been working hard on launching a course. So it's a self-paced course that really focuses on just one page of your website, the product detail page, the page that does all the heavy lifting and selling, the page where people make their buying decision. It's specifically designed for supplements, and it walks you through step by step on how to improve that page to increase sales, every single aspect of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of information on here. I imagine this course, and it'd be great to get a sense, so obviously sales is not my specialty, but what would you say are some of the common pitfalls with the product page? Or what would you say is the top one or two things, that the same mistakes that keep coming up over and over again?
Yeah, people just take the best practice approach and treat a supplement product page as any regular e-commerce page. And that's just the biggest mistake I see over and over again. Right? Because supplements are different. People buy supplements differently than they buy other products. And they're trying to basically sell supplements as if it was another e-commerce product. And it's not, because people are ingesting these things. There's a lot of psychology and hope and trust and belief that goes into purchase of a supplement, which is different than purchasing, say, a pair of shoes or another product online. And all of that is typically lacking from a product supplement detail page. It's really just, here's what's in it. Do you want it or not?
And here's what it does. Very, very simple technical information.
If you're lucky. Yeah. If you're lucky, here's what it does. Right?
Yeah,
it assumes that the visitor is very aware of the problem, very aware of the solution. And oftentimes they're not. There's a lot more education that needs to happen in a supplement sale.
And I'm going to ask you to see if you can answer this. And if you don't feel comfortable, that's okay. Is there something that you can share? What's an example of a tip or something that you can share that's in the course that you think people would be like, oh, I didn't know that, or that, you know what, that's a really good point. What would you kind of peel back just a little bit, a peek under this curtain, and just give us an idea of what's in the course?
Yeah, sure. So the course goes through how to really structure the page. And part of that structure is also the offer, because the offer is a really big element. And the offer is something that you can change quickly and easily and see an immediate lift or immediate effect on. People rarely even think about the offer, right? They just put the product up there and it costs this much and that's it. But there's a way to structure the offer in how many you present and how you present the one-time versus the subscription, really the copy around that, the pricing around that, and also putting together 2 or 3 different offers to have 1 or 2 act as a decoy offer and move people more towards that middle offer. And doing that the right way, I mean, even just that one little element, if you execute that alone, you're likely to see an increase in sales, because now you're giving people a choice to choose from, right? And a lot of times choice decreases conversion, but in this case, choice kind of leads them to that middle offer. Whereas if you just have one offer, it's like, do you want it or not? Multiple offers lets them choose, which one do I want? And typically, we're driving value there. We're giving more value for the higher bottle quantity offers, and really positioning it and structuring it in a way that allows the buyer to easily see the difference in that value.
Very cool. And what does one get if I were to sign up for this?
Oh yeah, so like I said, it focuses on just one single page, that product detail page. I'd say you take your top selling product and just focus on that. And what you get is a bunch of video courses. They're easy to follow along, a bunch of frameworks to apply, step-by-step kind of walkthrough of here's the assignment for each module and each course in that module. I break it up so that I'm separating the page, the product detail page, into chunks, into sections. So each section and chunk is its own video where I'm giving examples and just showing you how to structure it and giving you a framework, and then giving you kind of an assignment to complete that structure on your own. So it's a self-paced course that you can go through, and at the end, you'll have a solid product detail page that will be in many cases much better than the one you have now.
You mentioned that it's good to give the consumer options versus just the one thing. Why is that better? You're right. You would think that more choices leads to like this paralysis, right, of analysis scenario, but you're saying it's not the case.
Yeah, well, definitely if you have too many choices, that will lead to an indecision and no sale. But with this structure, it's really the same product. You're just offering them, do you want this product as a 1 bottle, a 3 bottle, a 6 bottle? Do you want this product as a 1 bottle, a buy 2, get 1, a buy 4, get 3? Different structures like that. So the question is not like, do I want, the vanilla flavor, the chocolate flavor, or the strawberry flavor? The question is more, how many do you want? How much value do you like? How much discount do you want to get? Do you want to get 1 free? Do you want to get 2 free? Do you want to get 3 free, etc.? So it's not a binary decision of, or really a complex decision of, which one is going to be right for me. It's all about, am I more committed? So I'll take the bigger quantity offer. Am I less committed if I just want to try it? Am I a value buyer? Do I want to get the bigger offer because it's just the better deal? And that's a way to push people up, put a higher average order value. So there's many psychological principles that kind of reduce the decision because it's the same product. You're just presenting it in sort of 3 different flavors, or not really flavors, but 3 different ways.
Yeah, and as you're kind of walking me through this, I'm thinking about my buying journey. And I don't know if this is the psychology behind it. I'm just speaking from personal experience. And there's this element of it kind of resonates with the type of buyer you are. So for some people, it's all about the price, right? Maybe the subscribe and save makes the most sense. Others, it's more that value. Maybe I don't mind spending more money, but I want more product, right? And so when you bundle in these different ways, you're kind of almost tailoring the option for the type of buyer that person actually is, or at least for me. And, in some cases I can justify, I'll spend $50 more, but I'm getting, at least in my head, I'm thinking I'm getting $100 of value extra because of it, right? And yeah, you're right. Like there's a level of commitment there, or maybe I'm really gung-ho about my weight loss journey this year, right? Like there's all these different ways that you can tap into that mindset. And I'm assuming that's what you're speaking to.
Exactly. And the customer is also changing recently, right? With inflation going up and people worrying about pricing and all the prices going up. I've seen across several supplement clients of mine that sales are up in the bundles, in the multi-bottle categories, and they're not as high in the single models anymore. So it's like it's shifted where they know they're going to buy this product for multiple months. They may not want to be on a subscription just because they don't want that multiple ding, but they're willing to take a good deal, right? They're willing to pay a little bit more and stock up because of the rising costs and rising prices everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. You want to just buy it now, lock in that price, at least mentally.
Yeah,
and
there
away you
are a
go.
lot of deal buyers, right? Value buyers that are sort of shifting the way people buy at the current moment in our economy.
And I listened to your podcast, and I remember you did that series where you helped someone that I think they won this opportunity to work with you for free. And you went through their product page, you went through their business model, and gave them some tips, and then you did a follow-up episode with them as well. I thought that was a great. I learned a lot as an outside observer, but it goes to show the level of content, your expertise that's poured into this course. I think it's a great opportunity, a great tool for those that are starting out. And from price standpoint, I think it's cheaper than working with you directly. So there's that bonus. So this is great, fantastic. I imagine this took a lot of hours to put together. Filming these videos isn't easy. I'm glad you did that. Thank you.
Thanks, thank you. Yeah, and I try to keep it super simple. Right? So I really simplify the message and simplify the instructions and how to proceed. And I give a lot of examples and walk through why those examples work. So it's not like a 7-8 hour type of course. Like you can go through it pretty quickly, but the effort is in doing the work, right? Implementing it yourself, really following along to implement it properly.
And I've done other courses like for YouTube, for example. And once you do these types of courses, you look at YouTube differently, or you look at your competitors' YouTube channels differently. So I imagine the same with you. Once I do the course, I understand how product pages are supposed to work or how they work. And then now when I look at my competitors, you can study those product pages. What do you like, what you don't like, how you want to tweak things. Like you understand the mechanism behind it.
It's very actionable and you can apply it, like you said, to many pages. You don't have to stick to just your highest selling page. And yeah, you can then sort of start analyzing other pages, whether it be your own or other competitors, and really start to see, oh, here's where their structure falls apart. And yeah, you can learn that very, very quickly with this course.
Cool. And I believe we're doing a promo. Is that right, Bobby?
Yes. I have a coupon code for your listeners. There'll be a link, I'm assuming, in the show notes.
You bet. Yeah.
The promo code is Mighty for Mighty Startup, just MIGHTY, for 30% discount just for your listeners, and it is limited to the first 100 customers.
You heard that right here. The first 100. So we're putting the links in the description down below. It's also going to be on the email list, so be sure to grab it while you can. It is a nice discount. That's a good chunk of change right there. So I encourage you guys to take advantage of it. So Bobby, thank you for putting this together. And when you have inventory, like, when we work with clients, you're so busy with the concept, you're working with manufacturers, working with Brian, like, okay, what kind of testing do we need? How do we find the right manufacturer? You put all this upfront work, and you're spending a lot of money on the inventory. And then finally the day comes when all the inventory lands and you're like, oh crap, what am I supposed to do with all this? You got to sell it, right? Like some people have that 2-year shelf life. So there's a firm EXP date, expiration date, quote unquote, that they got to get this inventory out by. And so, it's worth it. You know what I mean? Like it makes sense. You got to find everything you possibly can to make that inventory move.
It's the workhorse of your business, right? If your product detail page doesn't sell, and if it's not strong, then your business is not strong. Like that's really the page where people make their buying decision, and really that's the page that's building your business.
All right, so let's switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about claims. Because I know in your world, Bobby, there's a lot of clients that like to push the boundaries, which I totally get. You got to make a name for yourselves. You got to get the eyeballs. You got to get that momentum. And there are some scenarios where people want to get a sense of like, how do I support the claims? And when they work with me, I have a fairly high bar as to how do we do it in a way where, if I was deposed, if the brand owner was deposed in front of a lawyer, in front of that camera, how could they speak to protecting their claims? And so I thought we'd visit this really quickly. So Quincy Biosciences, they were sued and they were trying to make some memory claims. And this, I will probably do a video separately about this particular article because it goes into the complexities of, the how to defend your claims and how gray it is. And a lot of people assume gray means I can do it because it's gray. Like there's no rule that says I can't. Do you know what I mean? And that's how they interpret it. However, the counter argument that I have is, well, the lawyers see it the other way. Because it's gray, therefore I can sue you. And, the biggest take-home message I've got here is you could be completely innocent and you could have all the great science in the world, but you still got to pay a lawyer to defend you, right? Like to get through that lawsuit, you got to pay a lawyer. Unfortunately. Yeah. So I just thought that this was an interesting article because it kind of goes into the complexities of it all. And
I think there was a quote in the article that really kind of said it best. Like the quote is, in the closing arguments, they wanted to know exactly what to do so that they could ensure that Quincy complied with the law. Right? And that just speaks back to the gray that you were talking about. Like that answer was put out there, or the question was put out there rather, and there was no answer in return, right? It's like, we're not going to tell you exactly what, it's the same thing with Amazon, right? We're not going to tell you exactly what you need to do, but what you're doing is wrong, and we want your money because of it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And it's frustrating. It's so frustrating because there are people that want to do it right. But if you were to do it right, the claims you can technically make, doesn't sound as flashy as the other competitor that's probably not doing it right, but they're making much more stronger claims. The average consumer doesn't know the difference. They just see the stronger claims thinking it's a better product, all of that. What's interesting is the way that FTC has defined, how to make sure that these claims are accurate. The first condition, advertising must be truthful and not misleading. Okay. And then number 2, before disseminating an ad, advertising must have adequate substantiation for all objective claims. And this term, adequate substantiation, is a problem.
Yeah, what exactly does that mean, right?
Exactly.
What is adequate to you is different than what's adequate to me.
That's right. And that's in the law. So this subjective language is in the law, and that's what's creating a lot of the confusion. So this particular article goes into it. So Quincy Science, they've got a lot of animal studies. They've got good science. They've got in vitro studies and animal studies. They're showing you, the jury, all the science behind it. Whereas, the lawyers going after them, I believe in the article, they even mentioned that they didn't even know that they had any science whatsoever. So that's kind of where they were coming from at first. But Quincy was able to back it up that, we actually do have science. Yeah, research showing that dogs who took the particular active showed detectable levels in their cerebrospinal fluid and blood plasma. So they do have science, right? Now, the question is it adequate? And obviously, on the flip side, the plaintiff's lawyers, they want more. And here's the quote I was looking for. So this is from FTC. You need to have competent and reliable scientific evidence. So again, what does competent mean, right? Like you could get a panel of experts that believes one thing, vaccines work. You could get another panel of experts, doctors, right? Researchers that say, you know what, maybe it doesn't, right? It could happen. So, and that, again, that's that gray area. And so they did provide science, and FTC has really taken the position before. It's like, if you were to get a whole bunch of scientists in the room, what is the overall, like, what is their conclusion? And if they all agree on the same thing, that's kind of like the bar. But it's difficult in this type of situation. This again adds to the complexity of it all. So anyway, Quincy obviously presented their argument. The other side presented theirs, and they argued that you need to have clinical trials, like human clinical studies. And then when we work with clients, that's what we aim for. We aim for human clinical studies because and we worked with business acquisitions, so lawyers would do due diligence exercise. They would hire us to do that. And sometimes we have to defend claims. Sometimes I work on the brand side that's looking to get acquired. And if you don't meet this clinical trial minimum, someone's going to pick it apart. But this whole article goes into it. Even if you had studies, they can pick it apart. It's kind of interesting. So,
Yeah, it feels like there's no winning, right? Because there's no set protocol on how to do the research, right? And how it needs to be conducted in order to be considered acceptable. And like I said, that acceptability is subjective, right? It's acceptable to whom? To a juror, not to you or any doctor or anybody else. It's really a gray area that unfortunately is just part of the supplement business.
Yeah, exactly. It's the pay to play scenario, right? You have to be willing to take some risks here. And if our advising client, I'd like to see some sort of human studies to back up some of the claims. Like there's a way to do it so that you can kind of have a balance. You leverage some of the in vitro or innovative or novel science, but you got to have a foundation that's got established science too. Like there's a way to blend the two.
You think it's kind of a play, I don't know by whom, but a play to sort of reduce the new and different sort of mechanisms and to keep everything status quo more or less, right? Is it a play to reduce innovation in the industry?
I think the end result is it will. Like if we were to all follow this to a T, that's what it's going to do. Is it intended to? No, I don't think that's what its intentions are. I mean, if you let's say we put the two of us into a room and they said to hey, Bobby and Brian, you have to make some rule to make sure that people are not misleading or lying to the consumers about how they sell things and that there's science behind things. Right off the bat, I think the natural inclination is to like, well, you got to have some sort of data. But data is always backwards looking. It's inherently backwards looking, right? You need the studies first, but who's going to put the money up front? So if I've got something very novel, I only had enough money to maybe create that new technology for that novel ingredient or to do that study, but now I have to do another clinical trial. Like that's the problem. So it's inherently backwards looking, and that goes for any safety data. If you want certain ingredients in your product, that technically needs to have toxicological studies, etc. Everything's backwards looking. So, but I hope it doesn't stall innovation, but it kind of does, right? Like I think we can both make the argument that it does. The only other way that I've seen it go around, I'm kind of taking my compliance hat off, is if the entire market just all did the thing at the same time, then government's like, how do we do this? Now we have to regulate it, is kind of how they've taken this approach. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's sort of any mysterious or nefarious group trying to stall innovation, but it is a consequence. That is what's happening, right? So everybody suffers as a result. At the same time, I see where they're coming from, right? They're trying to protect the consumer. They're trying to protect things that are dangerous from being sold. Rightly so, they should. So there really is there's no clear path here. I think it comes down to what level of risk you are willing to take and at what level your business is, right? In the beginning, I think we talked about this before in other episodes. The beginning, you take more risk generally, and later on, as you have more to lose, you reduce the amount of risk.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what we try to do as well. We try to understand what's our plan B, make that pivot over to compliance an easier transition than none at all at first, like no compliance at first, right? But yeah, it's we'll see. I think the whole point here is just to highlight how complicated, claims are. And a lot of times when there's like, Brian, what, can I say this? Brian, can I say this? Like, you could, but it's always that you could, but you got to watch out for this, or maybe we want to change the formula a little bit here, or we might soften the language here, but there's always this gray area. And like I said, you got to pay someone to defend you. And from my standpoint, it's how do we do it in a way that you try to keep the people, the dogs off you, right? Oh, okay, this brand's actually, fairly compliant for the most part. Let's just go to the next brand that isn't. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of how we try to operate. And just really quickly go into this. I found the verdict kind of funny. I don't know if you saw saw this verdict. So, and listeners, you can be the judge, right? On the one hand, the jury found all 8 challenge statements lacked competent and reliable scientific evidence. On the other hand, the jury determined that 6 of the 8 claims were not materially misleading. So it's like, what do you do with this information? And, I'm sure other brands are watching this closely. And I would myself, if I were in their shoes, and when you see this conclusion, you're like, oh, well, the risk is still there. Like, essentially, if I were a larger brand and I'm watching out for these types of lawsuits, the risk is still there. This did not help me in any way. So there you go. The wild world of claims. But maybe I'll spend some time separately and kind of go into this article in more detail.
And that's,
all right.
Yeah, I mean, that's really your business, right? That's why your expertise comes in, and you can really help a lot of people out. At least guide them into making an informed decision, if nothing else.
I'm curious, do your clients ever talk about like claims from this point of view, or is it more just like, Bobby, help me sell more stuff, and or maybe the claims on ads or something like that? How does that overlap with you?
It definitely comes into the picture. It absolutely comes into the picture. There are some clients that are more risk averse than others, some that are willing to take a higher, claim stance than others. It's really subjective, and it kind of comes down to each individual person. Like, there is a way to do it and still be squeaky clean and not make any claims. In fact, my course is non-claim dependent, so the structure of it doesn't really matter. The structure of it doesn't matter as far as the claims go. You can, of course, amplify any sale with making bigger, bolder, broader claims, right? But it's also a function of just any market in general. Right? When a product first comes out, it's brand new to the market, nobody's ever heard of it before, it's super easy to sell. And then once everybody's heard about it, sales starts to decline. More players into the market selling the same thing because, oh, this is selling, this is hot right now, let's all jump on the bandwagon. And now competition goes up and sales goes down, and the only way to combat that is to make bigger claims, right? So you get to a point where the claims get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you have problems like this. And it's just a never-ending cycle, right? So then the next innovative product will come out, and that'll be brand new, and it'll be like, oh, we don't need to make any claims because it's brand new, and it's just the new thing, and everybody wants it, and then it inevitably follows the same cycle.
Yeah, there's a part of me that feels, you can't win on claims. There's going to be, either other competitors are going to copy that claim or one up you on the claims. Like, you don't win on claims alone. And you can't be dependent on that because you kind of go through this cycle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, interesting. All right, let's quickly move over to the next one. So this is the Southern District of New York denied CRN's request for preliminary injunction. Now, this is in relation to New York implementing some supplement selling restrictions, in particular for minors. So I believe this is where they are restricting sales like weight loss supplements to those under the age of 18. They're saying that you have to make sure you're letting people know, by placing signs that this is, for a particular age demographic. And I think part of this, what's driving this original new requirement is, there's this, I believe it's this idea of, when you're trying to tell teenagers to lose weight, like they have to hit a certain level of perfection, or, then there's like a safety component to it, all that stuff. Now, I know some people feel like you're restricting access to supplements, and that's where the CRN is coming in, and a lot of industry organizations are trying to get New York to reverse this, and they're trying to take legal means like this injunction to get there. Others feel like maybe this law has a point, right? Like, why do we want to sell to teenagers? They're more amenable to these things. They can be more vulnerable to manipulation, that type of thing. And then now they're trying to aim for this ideal, this physiological ideal. And, there's that angle too.
I totally agree. I think that it's unethical and unmoral to sell to an 18-year-old or younger. I'm totally on the side of the article on this one. But at the same time, then there's also players that kind of get away with it, right? Like the energy drinks. Like there's no one really saying, oh, you're not 18, so you can't drink this Monster energy drink. Like that's pretty much a supplement also, right? It's just a different food category, gets away with it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not fair, but if anything, it probably should put more pressure on the sports drinks, in my opinion.
I don't know. At first I was like, is this really that big of a deal? For whatever reason, the industry groups are really pushing back hard on this. But yeah, there's a part of me that feels, if I, again, from a purely compliance standpoint or even nutrition science standpoint, if we were to look at scientific research, a lot of them aren't done on teenagers. They're typically done on adults, right? So, it's hard to necessarily make that direct connection. Like, if the studies is done in an adult, then it's going to be safe for a teenager. As you and I both know, the teenage years, a 13-year-old and 18-year-old are very, very different, like physiologically, where they are in development. So there's a safety component to it that is hard to establish for a product. Like, what if a 13-year-old takes your product? Is it safe for a 13-year-old versus a 17-year-old, right? Who's a football player, that type of thing.
Yeah.
There's complexities there. So I get it. First I was one direction, now I'm on the other side. I kind of just keep going back and forth, but at the same time, I don't live in New York, so it's kind of outside of my world. But yeah, this is just something more for those that are selling the weight loss, the sports supplements. You're just in that higher risk category. I think we're going to see more of this stuff. Like I said, Amazon is targeting that particular category of supplements. The weight loss, the muscle building, they're more vulnerable for being spiked with pharmaceutical active drugs as well. There's a lot more adulteration in that supply chain, especially if the supplements are coming outside of the US, for example, which is quite possible. So from that standpoint, I get it. But it was more I just wanted to make sure that those that are selling in New York are aware of this coming change.
Yeah, weight loss is always going to have a target on its back. It's just the nature of the industry being the largest category of supplements.
Very good. Now let's move on to the very last one. This is an older topic, quote unquote older, in the sense that it was really, really hot last year, this whole NMN ban by FDA. So really quickly, I don't know if you've been following this, Bobby. So FDA previously had no issues with NMN being sold in the market. It was considered an acceptable dietary supplement ingredient. Then a particular ingredient supplier submitted safety data, to show that their ingredient was permitted for use in dietary ingredients. This is part of one of the mechanisms in place from FDA you have to meet. You have to send in your new dietary ingredient notifications to FDA. In that dossier, they referenced, hoping that it would show the safety of NMN. They referenced the clinical trial, investigative drug trial. So, to show and they were trying to submit this as evidence that, hey, it's been used in humans, this is fine. And in that drug trial, it revealed, that NMN has been used in a drug study. And there's a clause in the regulations for supplements that says if the ingredient has been used in a drug study before it's been marketed as a dietary supplement, it cannot be used in dietary supplements at that point. So we saw the same thing with CBD. CBD was used in a drug trial prior to it being marketed in supplements, and therefore CBD is not technically permitted in supplements. So that's what happened with NMN. There was a huge uproar. NMN was everywhere. Walmart, Target, they were selling it everywhere. The big retailers had it. So that's where we're at now. And everyone kind of like was going after FDA, hoping that they would reverse the decision. And here, this is just a quick update. Essentially, they're not. They haven't done anything new to it. Essentially, FDA is holding their ground. They still see NMN as not permitted in dietary supplements. And, we're seeing with my clients and my network, we're seeing manufacturers, because of this decision, they're not touching NMN. So if you have an NMN product, we don't want to make it because the manufacturers now are at risk. If FDA were to inspect them, which happens on the regular, and they see NMN in the production records or something like that, then that puts them at risk and they don't really have a good defense. And just to say, oh, my brand, the brand owner told us to do it, isn't really a strong defense for them. So they just don't want that liability. So not great news. And to further add not great news is just the buzz around NMN has really died off. I haven't heard much about it. I don't know if you have, but the initial fight just seems to have kind of petered out. And because of it, maybe FDA is hoping that that's the case, and then that's it. They don't have to deal with this anymore, and NMN is what it is. That said, I do know that there are some brands selling D2C on their website, some NMN products, so you'll still find it. But just from an overall regulatory status, it's not looking great for NMN.
Yeah, it was hot a couple of years ago and just died very quickly, unfortunately. But I'm sure there's still a group segment of buyers who really want NMN, right? And are probably having trouble finding it, right? So those few manufacturers that do supply it, probably China, offshore, and those few D2C companies that sell it, you think they're at risk as well, or you think they have like a small little gold mine for themselves?
No, I think they have a gold mine. I mean, like, again, for now, they have a gold mine. And as you said, the supply chain is less, then you have less competitors. It's going to help them right now, and I think that's the case. I think the problem is the manufacturers. More and more manufacturers are moving away from NMN, and I think that's going to be the problem. So we'll see. But right now, it's working out. But I could see that dissipating in time, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's really nothing else that I've seen in the. At least that was a couple of years ago when I had an NMN client. There was nothing else to the product. It was just single ingredient, right? And there's no differentiation there. So you're going to compete on marketing or you're going to compete on price. And if you can't afford to outspend the next guy, you're going to lose big time. Now with the manufacturing kind of cutting your legs out from underneath you, I could see the manufacturing costs rising and it just becoming more expensive on the economic side to compete in that market. I could see it consolidating to like one or two players.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Or the manufacturers that are willing to do it are startup manufacturers. They don't have their stuff in order.
Yeah,
they're just trying to get any business, and that's where things get a little bit dicey. But yeah, I'm with you. All right. Well, Bobby, thank you so much for doing this. Just a reminder to the audience, grab the course. We've got the coupon code, all the information in the link below. It's mighty, correct? It's 30% off the current price. Correct. It's only for a limited time. I think 100 spots available for that coupon. And like I said, I'll be pushing that through my email list as well as Bobby's email list. So there's a lot of competition. So be sure to take advantage of it while the offer still exists. Bobby, again, it was a pleasure. That's episode 2 of the Supplement Scoop done. And I look forward to episode 3.